Hey guys, so as we said with last week, we picked up on our juniors and our quad races, which gave us some amazing racing action. Hope you guys will stay for this one. This is us going through our shopping list of all the motorcycle categories. This is from GXCC, round number 3, Secunda. Absolutely prime that track. I'm going to start things out with our lady category. For the ladies, it's been the Petersen sisters. They started the year at round number 1 with a podium lockout, the first time it's ever happened in the history of GXCC racing. Since then, there's been one more name starting to join the party. That's been Megan Jonker. She's in really good form in 2019, is going to be troubling the apple cart. The story of round number 3, though, for Secunda was a no score for Janke Petersen. So after going pretty much undefeated for something like 24 months, she has her first mechanical, she was out. That allowed the rest of the sisters to come on strong. Annika, as always, going to be third place. Very, very strong numbers for her. She should be able to try and nail down a championship at some stage. Third place for her. Megan Jonker, even though she gated to a number 1, she was passed early on, and eventually it was the KTM underneath Karika Petersen who got to the top. So Karika nails down her first win of the championship, and on paper at the moment goes forward as champion going into round number 4. Watch out for the comeback of Janke as we go forward into the rest of the tour. Going forward into the rest of the categories then, we'll start things out with our high school racers, the 125ers, the crazies. So a bit of a story here. Lo Pretorius carrying an injury. He was there, he lined up because he wants to be able to throw this round away. And of course the story is you can't throw it away unless you were there to be able to throw it away. So he was rolling around there. He was never going to be troubling the championship and the podiums. So he was just going to be picking up the pieces and trying to just finish inside of the top 10. Third place was a nice comeback ride for a former national champion on the gate, Nardis Robbie. Obviously liked the turf out there, very similar to his area where he grew up. Then it was a number 2 finish this time around for Ryan Peltzer. He's good for a championship. He's always a safe bet, is Mr. 125. But if he wants to take the championship this year, he's going to have to get wins. The win streak is starting to come now from Storm Viljoen. He took, I think, 2 or 3 wins on last year's tour, and unfortunately, Lo Pretorius was just strong enough to squeeze him out. This year, though, this may be the beginning of the charge up to the top for Stormy as he heads into round number 4 as championship leader. For the senior gate, so strong and so tough to call. On the gate, there's going to be about 5 guys that can walk away with the win at every single round. Last time around, big problems for Big Bruce Viljoen. He got the Hollywood hole shot that he's been looking for a very long time, but on lap number 1 snapped his chain. That dropped him way out the pack, and he is going to have to throw that event away. This time around, it was third place for Ludwig Jansen van Vuren, the man for the Trax KTM squad. He's been in good shape the last couple of seasons, and it looks like he's starting to find that pace and form once again. Solid third places for the rest of the year. We'll see him in good position for the championship. Second place for Big Bruce puts him in good position for the championship, but he is going to have to get those wins going if he wants to beat out Wade Blau. Blau now has gone something like 8 rounds on a trot, the end of last year and the beginning of this year, walking away with a ton of wins. So Blau on the big 450 KTM riding under the Roos colours goes 3 for 3 to open up his season. On the Masters gate, this was going to be an ask. So in the dust and in the flat out sections, there's nothing to choose between Wayne Farmer and Peter Hall. What is coming into play this year, though, is the return to form and return to consistency for Faan van Deventer. He is super strong every single time he lines up, and he got a number 2 finish. So who was third and who was first between the epic battle of Peter Hall and Wayne Farmer? Let's cut to the chase. It was Peter Hall that walked away with a massive win, and that is going to set him up nicely for his championship chase for the rest of the tour. It was a very rare mechanical situation that saw Wayne Farmer's bike overheat, but it was good enough to just survive and get a number 3. The championship for the Masters is still on. For the OR3s, the 200cc gate, super stacked as always, but we saw a lot of riders from last year move up. So we are seeing different players almost at every single round of the GXCCs start to get their name onto the box. Peter Karam, who's been a rider on his way up, watch out for him to try and nail down a top 3 for the rest of the year, and definitely one of the most consistent riders on the tour. Definitely a championship on the cards, if not a win every now and again. Third place for him sets him up quite nicely. Second place was a good lineup for Jean-Roux de Vet. This is a name and a rider to watch out for. I've watched him on some of the other tours, like racing on the 424s and Farm Jam. He really throws some good numbers. This may be that little bit of confidence booster that gets him up there knowing that he can take podiums every single time. But coming back from injury, remember he threw away round number 2 from having to go in for a knee op, although he did make the gate and had to just goon it out of the gate to make sure that he was able to throw it away. He won round number 1, he wins round number 3, and that was Stefan van Deventer. He's back on the box, and on throwaways, he is your championship points leader. On the OR2 is a slightly different podium this time around, and this was all set up by one of the most consistent riders, certainly up until this point, JJ Daisel, having mechanical problems. It's got to be the first time he's finished off the top 3 in something like 18 months, one of the most consistent riders on the tour. A clutch problem set him out. So this is going to have to be JJ's throwaway, and he's going to have to hope that he has a solid rest of the season. Third place at the Secunda round was a great return to form for Jason Fenter. He's had a couple of injuries to deal with the last couple of seasons, and he found his form and a track that really suited this flowing style. Third place for J-Man. Number 2 for Jared Coetzee. But number 2 doesn't really give credit where credit is due. He was up there running third fastest the whole way, scored against all the rest of the categories, and it was a bar-banging, smashing race between himself and eventual OR2 winner, Ian Rawle. That's Rawle taking some real big numbers, and he does roll into round number 4 in the OR2 gate as championship points leader. But himself and Jazz were absolutely pinning it and giving us some of the most entertaining racing we have seen. They both absolutely loved the track at Secunda. And on to the big bangers. No show for Kenny Gilbert this time around, so again, that was going to be shuffling the order and seeing possibly some new names come to the front. JC was in the mix, as was Hein van Niekerk and Dot. On paper, it looked like it was a possible win for either 3 of these riders. It came down to an incredible start, whole shot, and a runaway win for Dot. His first win of the 2019 Tour and his first win on GXCCs for over 2 years. Welcome to the top step, and welcome now into a championship points lead for the Dot. He is firing hard. He absolutely loved the terrain there, and it was just prime for him. Second place and finishing inside of the top 5 overall was a return to form for Hein van Niekerk. He throws away round number 2 for injuries, so he has got some good numbers on the page, and he will sit number 2 in championship points at the moment. And in third place, it was another rider coming back to form after, I think he hasn't raced for something like 15 or 16 months, stepping onto a new 2019 Sherco 450, Ruan Smith. Great to have him up on the podium, and this is a rider that's going to be robbing a ton of points from riders like JC Nienaber. Nienaber, by the way, had major problems. Last lap, the bike went done, and it was a lot of bikes that let go at this event. So what's coming up in the rest of the racing month? This is finishing off with April and going into May. We have got the next round of the National Enduro Championships, so that's going to be fun just sitting outside of Pretoria. Hopefully the guys can get up there and give us some good racing. Flanny is the man at the moment on that tour, so watch out for the Proudly Bidvest Yamaha dude to get the job done once again. Then almost straight after that, all of the guys that are doing double duties and a lot of the guys that race in the GXCCs will be going down to Cape Town for round 2 of the National Off-Roads. That's in the Koa Bokkeveld. Very, very fun terrain, but we often see small numbers going down there. It's a long way. It's a lot of money to pay to go racing for the weekend. Then we start getting ourselves ready for GXCC round number 4, which will officially be the halfway marker of the season, and that is the classic race venue of Bapsfontein. We hope you guys had a great Easter, didn't eat too many eggs. Tune in next week when we give you a wrap-up of what went down in those 2 events, the Koa Bokkeveld and the National Enduro from Pretoria. Cheers.